Sand. You can't have glass, concrete, or Sandy Olsen from Greece without it. It's that ubiquitous. Ubiquitous. And you know what else is ubiquitous? The Mitsubishi Triton. Since 1978 and over 5 generations, it's quietly toiled away in the background while hotshots like the Ford Ranger and Toyota Hilux hog the limelight. And now there's this, the 6th generation Triton, the MV series. And for the first time in this vehicle's 45-year history, it's had Australian tuning to make it feel, drive and behave better than before. So much so, in fact, that Mitsubishi Motors has given us a pre-release drive out here in outback South Australia amongst all these beautiful dunes. Triton meets sand. Sand, do your worst. Let's go. The Triton we've got here is the top of the line GSR that starts from just under $64,000. It, along with some of the Triton double cab range, launches in February, while other body styles, like the cab chassis, will follow later in 2024. Now, last month, Mitsubishi released full pricing details with every Triton from the base GLX 4-door double cab 4x2 from $43,690, featuring more advanced driver assist safety tech than ever before, including AEB and adaptive cruise control. And while cloth seats and vinyl floors tell you that this is the entry-level grade, you do also enjoy niceties like a 9-inch multimedia screen with navigation, Android Auto and wireless Apple CarPlay, as well as 17-inch wheels. The GLX Plus from $50,340 in 2-door club cab or from $53,290 for the 4-door double cab is 4-wheel drive only from here on in and adds goodies like side steps, more safety, a digital radio and a surround view monitor. Going GLS double cab from $59,090 adds a more sophisticated 4-wheel drive system with terrain and hill controls, comfort rather than load biased heavy duty suspension, 18-inch alloys, a tray liner, LED lights, dual zone climate control, a wireless phone charger and more. While the GSR we're driving here ushers in blacked out wheels, body coloured trim, wheel arch moulds, a style bar and roof rails, while leather, metallic trim accents and extra dash mounted cup holders feature inside. There's no V6 diesel answer to Ranger, though the twin-turbo Triton's pricing and specification are very competitive with the more expensive Ranger bi-turbo equivalents. That's a good start. By the way, what's with the 80s Mitsubishi Magna era variant names like GLX and GSR? This is very latest Outlander looking, this nose, but to me it also looks a little bit like Hannibal Lecter's mask. Anyway, the Triton is longer and wider than before by 50 millimeters. It's been stretched by 15 millimeters overall, but the wheelbase has been extended by a massive 130 millimeters, while back here the tray is 35 millimeters longer, so it's usefully larger. Overall then, the new Triton is maybe half a size bigger than before, and given that it now has a 3,500 kilogram towing capacity, which is 400 kilograms up from the old one, maybe Mitsubishi should consider renaming this the 3.5 ton? You're welcome, Mitsubishi. Compared to the old Triton, the latest version's cabin is clearly larger and roomier. Occupants are mounted higher up, ahead of a dashboard that seems 2 generations ahead of the old one in design. And while not always the case, it seems as user-friendly as the old Tritons, with clear instrument dials, actual physical switchgear for the multimedia and climate control systems, ample ventilation in very warm conditions, and loads of storage options. Now, our test vehicle is a pre-production example, so we'll have to wait for the definitive verdict once we're inside and behind the wheel of one meant for consumers. But already, the quality of execution and thoughtfulness that's gone into the new model are obvious. This also includes the rear seat area, which seems to strike the right chord with lots of space, a reasonably comfortable bench, access to USB outlets and cup holders, and more storage behind the folding backrest. Righto, so much for the sensible stuff. It's obviously much larger in here. I like the juxtaposition between Outlander-like, car-like elegance and kind of tough pickup truck utility back here. Like it's got versatility. It's got lovely toggle switches. The instrumentation is very easy to decipher. The driving position is great. You sit a bit higher than you did in the old car. And thank goodness it's got a manual handbrake. This is something that you just want in a truck, I reckon. Anyway, out the back, Mitsubishi has continued with its nifty roof-mounted air circulating system, which keeps this cabin much cooler in summer and warmer in winter, so that's good. In this GSR, there's these awesome pockets for devices such as smartphones and iPads, and it's certainly much roomier than it was in the past. What I don't like, well, there's no under-seat storage like you do get in Ranger and other rivals, and also, what else? These windows don't go all the way down. But, well, they almost do, but other than that, this is a very refined, comfortable, and contemporary interior presentation. Well done, Mitsubishi. Meanwhile, out back, speaking of utility, out back, this tailgate is heavy for weaklings like me, and in the standard Triton, even the GSR like we're looking at here, there aren't power outlets or lighting or fancy things to tie down stuff with. That's all available as dealer fit accessories, which we don't know yet about. You'll have to wait until the car is launched in February. Anyway, this this gets better when we go to the front of the car. It might only still have 2.4 litres and be a 4-cylinder, but this diesel has had a makeover to rival Sandy's at the end of Greece, where she's wearing leathers and got the perm. Anyway, outputs are up by 10% and it's way more efficient. Let's dive right in. Key changes include the addition of a twin turbo setup, like in the smaller 4-cylinder Ranger and Nissan Navara, while there's also a high pressure fuel delivery system and reduced engine friction, amongst other improvements for greater efficiency. The result is a 10% jump in power and torque to 150 and 470 Newton meters respectively, with the latter now available at just 1500 RPMs for a broader torque curve. This brings stronger throttle responses and easier going when forward driving or towing a trailer. At the moment, a 6-speed auto carries over, with the 6-speed manual versions on lower grade Tritons not too far behind. All 4-wheel drive models from GLS up feature Mitsubishi's Super Select 4-wheel drive 2 setup, now with an expanded drive mode system, rising from 4 to 7 separate settings including Eco, Gravel, Mud, Sand and Rock. There's also significantly improved traction and braking control on and off-road, thanks to terrain control and hill descent tech. Underneath, the new Triton's ladder frame chassis is completely new from the ground up, according to Mitsubishi, and it's stronger and more durable, with higher grade steels for extra toughness. The double wishbone front suspension now boasts greater travel and larger diameter struts, up 10% for Australian bound models compared to the rest of the world, providing superior ground contact. The cheaper Tritons have heavy duty 4 leaf spring rear suspension out back, while the more comfort biased higher grades like our GSR have 3 leaf spring arrangements. Finally, the electric power steering system gains a quicker gear ratio from 3.7 to 3.3 turns lock to lock for substantially better agility and handling. And Mitsubishi in Australia had a very big hand in tuning all these to suit local driver tastes. Okay, the big moment is here. We've been waiting years to drive the new Triton, and I'm here to fact check how good this thing is off-road, because after all, we're not allowed to drive these on road yet. So The first fact, or the first point Mitsubishi makes is that this new 2.4 litre 4-cylinder turbo diesel engine is torquier than before, and it produces that torque, which is about 10% better, at a lower rev, like from 1800 RPM. So I can tell you from driving up these sand dunes that it is significantly more responsive. Whew. And not only that, it's like you're driving the old Triton but with headphones on or earmuffs over your ears, because it is that much quieter. It's also smoother, which is a second fact check, because they say that there's far less friction than there was compared to the old Triton. Thirdly, even though it only has 6 speeds for the automatic transmission, it seems to be really responsive. Like, it reacts immediately to throttle inputs and doesn't lag around here. Well, certainly not around here anyway. From a 4x4 perspective, that's all been modified or changed or upgraded or completely redesigned. And with the Australian Triton receiving fatter as well as longer travel shock absorbers, I can tell you that this is way cushier, yet more controlled and with less head toss compared to before. So again, a noticeable improvement over the old car. Now, I should tell you at this juncture that with the previous Triton, we've had one here to drive back to back, and so it's not like we're going from memory, or, you know, we literally drove old and new back to back, and this is how we know that around here, this thing is certainly a more capable, refined, and comfortable vehicle. Impressively, one of the laps I did out of the new separated mud and sand driving mode, so you can now choose those individually, and I drove once with it off sand, like out of the sand mode, just to see if it got bogged, and you know what? It almost got bogged, but it didn't quite get stuck. But once I put it in sand mode, this thing just kind of scarpered out of being bogged. So, you know, this is really highly capable, and I've got to say, very promising for when we finally are allowed to take the Triton on road. Now, that won't happen until early next year, probably around February. So you'll have to come back then to see what our verdict is. But all I can say is that all that testing that Mitsubishi did in the South Australian outback, in built-up urban areas around Adelaide, as well as at the ex-Holden Proving Ground at Lang Lang, it certainly has paid dividends. So fingers crossed that we have another excellent 4x4 dual cab ute alternative to Ford's Great Ranger.
Along with extra muscle, the new Triton also gains a 10% drop in fuel consumption, falling to between 7.4 and 7.7 litres per 100 kilometres on the combined average cycle, depending on model. Except around here though, this sand driving caper is pretty thirsty work.
Okay, it's a bit too early for Mitsubishi to reveal what the ANCAP crash test rating is, because they haven't done it yet, but sometime in the middle of next year, this should get 5 stars, because it's got quite a lot of extra safety compared to before.
Like all Mitsubishi vehicles, the new Triton offers a provisional 10-year, 200,000 kilometre warranty and a 10-year cap price servicing program. Pricing is to be announced at a later date. And by provisional, I mean that you'll need all scheduled servicing to be carried out through the national authorised Mitsubishi Motors dealer network across Australia. There are other restrictions too. Otherwise, the standard 5-year, 100,000 kilometre warranty applies.
Triton 1, Sand 0. This place is no walkover, but the Triton skimmed, scooted and sailed across these loose surfaces like it was on greased lightning. In fact, it won't leave you stranded at all. I'd go as far as saying that You won't get stranded on your driveway, losing your cool. What can I say? Around here, the new Triton rules. Don't forget, you can read the full rundown on the pre-production Triton ahead of its February 2024 launch at carsguide.com.au. And as always, thanks for watching.